What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel.
Taking a look today at the LSU Tigers. Of course, a bit of a bounce back season for Ed Ogeron and company last year. Just 5-3 in the SEC, but 10-3 overall. Won the big bowl game over UCF. Book ended with the Miami win on opening night. Big win at Auburn on the Plains when the Auburn Tigers were ranked in the top 5 to 10 in the nation. And LSU had a few disappointments later. Obviously, not necessarily the loss against Alabama, but 29-0 in Death Valley in a game in which they were prepared and thought they could go toe-to-toe with the Tide. And they were outgained about 560 to 180. It was a complete massacre, 29-0 in that game. And the offense, of course, couldn't muster nothing. Lost to Texas A&M as well, of course, in the season. In Florida with a late interception from Joe Burrow. They couldn't get the job done there. So just 5-3 in the SEC. But again, that's in the SEC, 10-3 overall. Good enough for a legitimate top 10 placement in the country. When we look at the trajectory of this program, it's pretty much been flatlined for a while. Ever since they went to the BCS championship game in January of 2012, they've dipped. And they've stayed on that 9-3, 8-4 plane ever since. Now, the recruiting rankings, therefore the talent on the roster, would tell us that they should be much better than that. But over the past 4 seasons, 21-11 in the SEC, not bad. Very good conference, the best in college football for most of that time. 21-11, very good, but not LSU good. 36-14, nothing close to what Saban established starting in 2001 with an SEC championship, and then running through most of the Les Miles era to that 2011 BCS championship game. This was a school that was typically ranked in the top 5 to 10 in the country, won 2 national championships, and played in another. So 10-3, 9-4, 8-4, 9-3 just doesn't add up. And then 5-3, 6-2, 5-3, 5-3 in the SEC. They've not been a serious contender to Alabama to win the SEC championship. The recruiting rankings, though, would tell us that they should have been much better. The 2020 class, of course, has yet to hit the field, but just to give you a feel for what's headed toward Baton Rouge, number 2 in the SEC, number 3 in the nation right now, according to the 247 composite. The 2019 class that will be on the field mostly, number 4 in the SEC, number 5 in the country. 2018, they were 5th in the SEC, but number 15 in the country. That was the worst class by far, at least statistically. We could go back and look at those 2018 signees and see how well they've fared thus far, just with the one season under their belt. 2017, LSU, number 3 in the nation, number 3 in the SEC, number 7 in the nation in recruiting. Then 2016, number 2 in the SEC, number 2 in all of college football. Guess who they were second to? Of course, Alabama in 2016. So the trajectory has been flatlined since 2011. They dipped in 2011 after the championship game loss, and they've been a 3-loss to 4-loss program ever since. But considering what they achieved last year against the competition and the recruiting class coming in, Coach O looks like, after it being a question mark, a big, serious question mark, his hiring, that he's got control of this program, and he has gained the respect. He gained the admiration of the players pretty quickly, but the respect of the players and those outside the football operation, Coach O now looks like a legitimate top-of-the-rung SEC coach. And again, the recruiting has been exceptional. So the trajectory going up based on the results last season, the recruiting, and also the hope for this year. Joe Brady coming in as the passing game coordinator from the New Orleans Saints has brought a ton of optimism. The S&P Plus projected for this year, number 15 in the nation offensively. When is the last time LSU ranked 15th in the nation in offense? And listen to this. The S&P Plus projection for 2019 is a number 1 ranking in defense and number 4 overall in the nation. 4th best team in the country. Okay, the offense, of course, led by Joe Burrow. And so those people that just look at the numbers and looked at the level of play and the points on the board, not overly impressed with Joe Burrow, and I get it. But if you really delve into what he faced stepping on campus, taking over an offense that hasn't been overly productive in a long time. You got to be impressed with what he did. He basically stepped on campus in the summer, had to learn the offense, the terminology, had to learn his teammates, get acclimated to the locker room, the coaching staff, campus, the whole deal thrown at Joe Burrow. Starter, bam, get out there, play Miami, a top 10 defense in the country, right out of the gate. He won the game. 58% completion percentage. I think some of that had to do with the wide receiver play not being as good as it needs to be an SEC champion. But 58%, he can do better. 16 TDs, 5 picks. And believe me, he has been studying his deficiencies during the offseason. He's a coach's kid. That's what he does. He's a gym rat, coach's kid, studies, and he's going to get the max out of his ability. And does he have to adjust to the offense? Well, to a certain extent, but not really. This is actually taking Joe Burrow back to the offense under Brady, the passing game coordinator, to an offense that he's more comfortable and used to, an offense that he has admittedly said, this is what I've run since I was in 8th grade, all the way through Ohio State. You got the sophomore Miles Brennan, highly regarded coming out of high school, and he's the backup. Okay, the running game has not had, at least this past season, the big back. Jeremy Hill, Leonard Fournette, Darius Geis. Nick Brissett was a nice player, but should not be a lead back at a place like LSU. He did gain the 1,000 yards, but 4.3 per carry. Not an explosive, game-changing kind of back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back after 4.5 yards per carry and 7 touchdowns last year. Okay, the two kids to get excited about, of course. And we'll see if they can make an impact this season, and I believe at least one of them will. You got Tyrion Davis, you got John Emery, ranked number 8 and number 2 in the nation in the running back rankings, according to the 247 composite. 2 of the top 8 running backs in the nation coming to LSU, and they will have their opportunity, and right now they are getting that opportunity to show that they should be on the field. Okay, the wide receiver play needs to get better. Obviously, the peak of the wide receiver play was in that 2013 range. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr. They've got a ton of highly regarded wide receivers on the roster, so the depth is there, but nothing really elite. Justin Jefferson would be the closest with the 6 touchdowns and 54 catches last year. He's a nice player. Derek Dillon plays out of the slot. He's a really quick player, run after the catch guy with 22 catches last year. Terrace Marshall, highly regarded as a freshman. He should get a lot better in this second season. Caught 12 passes last year. Jamar Chase, you got D. Anderson. Chase caught 23, 3 touchdowns. Anderson is a 6'7", big guy, high point the football, as well as Stephen Sullivan, another 6'6" guy that can shield out those defensive backs, especially those tiny corners, and he had 23 catches last year. We expect much more out of the LSU wide receivers this year. The offensive line is bringing back 47 starts. The Fiesta Bowl, to a certain extent, was a precursor to what we're going to see this year when Joe Burrow threw for just one less than 400 yards, 399. They went with less max protection, which is what you expect. One of the UCF defensive coaches actually made that comment coming off the field, shaking hands with the LSU coaches, that he thought they were going to be in max protect, keep the back in, keep the tight end in, max protect, just let the wide receivers do their thing. That's LSU football. But they took some chances and they got the ball out of Burrow's hand quickly. They're going to do much more of that this year because they had the second worst rate of sacks in the SEC last year. But they do have a lot of guys coming back like Sadiq Charles, Damian Lewis. And again, they'll get the running backs out of the backfield a whole lot more this year if they can show, especially in camp, they need them to show that they can be outlet receivers and that they've got the hands and the moxie to do that. All right, again, the defense might be the best in the SEC this year. Devin White, Greedy Williams, gone, 2 elite college football players. But the team only gave up 22 points per game, 339 yards per game. They've got 8 starters back, 7 of their 9 top tacklers back. This has got to be the best secondary in the nation with the safety Grant Delpit, who might be the best football player in the country. 74 tackles last year, 9.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. and 5 interceptions. Rarely do you see that type of tackle and yardage lost production in the backfield as a disruptor, plus the picks. Jacoby Stevens had 6.5 tackles for loss. The corners are excellent. Christian Fulton is a star in the making. You got the sophomore in Kelvin Joseph, and also, of course, Derek Stingley. Linebacking play, of course, no Devin White. Okay, Jacob Phillips, 87 total tackles last year. Michael Divinity, the senior, 9.5 tackles for loss. And the guy that could really make the defense over the top, special, dominant, would be Kalavon Chasen. He needs to stay healthy. He had the ACL issue last year. Along the defensive front, the defensive line is going to be elite, led by, of course, Rashard Lawrence. All right, the schedule. This was my 7th rated schedule in college football. Please check out my schedule rankings. They're a source of pride for me. I take hours to look over the schedules and rank them from 70 all the way up to number 1 in the Power 5. LSU with the 7th most difficult schedule in the country. Of course, they got to go to Texas week 2. Win that game, and even though LSU is going to be a 4 to 7 point favorite in that game, win that game on the road against a fringe top 10 opponent, and then the hype train's going to roll, and rightfully so. So who do they play in the SEC Eastern Division? Well, they always have Florida, but at least the Gators come to Death Valley this year, and then they get possibly the easiest in the rotation in the SEC Eastern Division with Vandy on the road. And of course, the SEC Western Division, they got Alabama and Texas A&M. They got to play Alabama on the road, but they do have Texas A&M at home after they suffered that 74-72 win at Kyle Field last year. My look at the LSU Tigers, I'm intrigued by this team. I'm still contemplating an LSU SEC Western Division championship.
Thank you for watching this video. If you're an SEC football fan, please subscribe to the channel. Leave us your thoughts down in the comments below. And for the latest in SEC football, keep it right here.